Hi there, Craig Hall with another episode of Finmar Today. Imagine you just walked out of your weekly business development or marketing meeting and you've been voluntold. Yes, I said voluntold to figure out what the hell to do with your firm's social media accounts. Do we clean them up? Do we delete them? We have some followers, we don't have enough followers, and the list goes on and on. Listen in as Amber Sullivan and I discuss the twists and turns of social media marketing on today's episode of Finmar Today. Welcome to today's podcast. I'm Craig Hall, and today we're going to be talking about social media. I've got Amber Sullivan with me. She works with me and the rest of our team to support our clients with social media, management, scheduling, creative content, a host of things. She's been instrumental in our ability to really scale our efforts in supporting other brands and how they reach their audiences and how they expand their social media. Welcome, Amber. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Craig. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So you and I at times go on and on about this, and I thought having a call that we would, kind of convert into a podcast would be a lot of fun because social media is kind of a fun topic. What are, just as people get to know you and how you think, what are some of the things that you find most interesting about social media, kind of just in general? Like, what are some of the things that, have drawn you to, I guess, build your management around a lot of social media facilitation?
Well, I think social media in general is a fascinating topic because, as much as it's second nature to us, it's really a relatively new technology in the world of communication. And what it does in its most basic sense is I think that it makes the world a lot smaller in a good way. It connects people to, businesses and friends and, contacts and things that they would have never had any knowledge of. And I mean, the same could be said for the internet as a whole. But when it comes to social media, people are just willing to share and, sometimes overshare, but they're willing to share, parts about themselves, and, you get to know them on a level that just wouldn't have been possible if there wasn't some kind of a sort of gathering place that doesn't adhere to time zones and culture and country and, things that really do kind of bring us all together.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I find fascinating about, as you said, it's I think the internet in general or the digital age, but social media, and there are tons of forms of social media, but like that it allows us to connect in ways with our friends and brands and the world around us in ways that we couldn't do before, the internet, and then really the maturing of the internet, which is these social media channels. I mean, even here within our team, we use Slack for a lot of day-to-day, intra-team communication, and that's really a social media tool in a way. We're just using it for
Absolutely.
um, business management and communications within an internal team. But so we could go on and on about different social media, but what are some of the channels that you think are most important out there? Social media channels, that is.
Well, I think I have to parse that out into, what I do for a living. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and admit that I did have a MySpace account. So I'm just going to throw that out there. So
I had one too, but I never really
little,
used it, but I had one.
I was a little partial to the theme song you could load. That was, I'm not going to lie, but in all seriousness, I think that, because I live and breathe in the marketing world, I would have to say that, the tried and true Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, I know that everyday social media channels are popping up and they're becoming highly specialized for, depending on what you do for a living or what your hobbies are. So, which is really, really neat. So I think, that is in itself is really cool because there's just a place for everybody. But as far as my favorites, I mean, I spend so much of my time professionally on Facebook, LinkedIn, and to an extent YouTube, because and they're my favorites because, they're constantly evolving in a way that they can become a legitimate marketing tool. And I think that is invaluable to somebody who wants to be able to reach the audiences, like at the scale that I was speaking of earlier on this, that you can reach anybody for the most part through, almost like a portal to the world through your social media.
Yeah, and it really does lead us into I guess it's been a topic that I think most people have just accepted and don't care. Is the way we do that is through just a lot of data that Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, which is really Google, but a lot of data that these social media companies are collecting on us. The stuff we're doing to target people on Facebook and LinkedIn is amazing, and it allows us to kind of reach audiences, very specialized, specific audiences, because we know what they're interested in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of my biggest pieces of probably unsolicited advice to people is that people these days, and this isn't, of course, over everybody, but I think a majority of people who regularly use social media, they're not dumb. They understand that you're collecting their information. And what they want you to do is use it responsibly, and they want you to use it effectively in a way that actually benefits them. So a lot of people aren't going to mind if they see ads. They know that the word sponsored on a post means that somebody chose for them to see that ad based on their interest and their profile. And most people aren't going to mind that, because that could be something that they genuinely, it's a product they want to use. It's a Facebook page that they'd like to follow. And so I think if you're using that data correctly and responsibly, I think that is one of the best ways you can use the social media tool itself to get people aware of what you're trying to bring them aware of, as opposed to just irritating them by putting an ad that has absolutely nothing to do with any of their interests, because you didn't bother to really think about that data and how it was going to benefit both sides.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about when we work together on these campaigns, is really what we're talking about is targeting and making sure that the message aligns with what that audience is interested in and needs in their day-to-day life, whether that's for a product or service that we're helping to promote or any other company out there. As long as it's relevant to our lifestyle, we're somewhat accepting of the ads. It's when I think we get annoyed when people don't take the time to just be thoughtful of the ads. I'll give you an example, which just cracks me up, being in digital and knowing how data works. And this is an example on Spotify. And it didn't annoy me, it made me laugh more than anything. But so we're based here in Saratoga Springs, New York, and there was an ad from CVS Health, which is promoting a CVS pharmacy, and it's basically was saying, go down to your local CVS store in Saratoga, except it was, I believe, Saratoga, California, right? And it kind of made me think that's just sloppy, because whoever was managing the targeting just didn't really zero it in on the right Saratoga geography, and then had ads showing, or basically running, because they're audio ads, to a group of people who can never even actually do anything with that ad, because that particular pharmacy they were promoting is not down the road for me. So I thought that was kind of funny, but it really kind of talks about what you were saying, that the targeting matters. And so tell me a little bit about what companies or brands, and in our case, we work a lot with the wealth management firms. What they should be doing. Is having a social media profile and a few followers enough?
No, it brings us back to when businesses first started getting on Facebook, and I was working in social media marketing when social media marketing became a thing to even be working on. It just was sort of one of those things that, now in today's world, you've got people who are hired specifically to do social media marketing. When I was working on social media marketing, it just got added to my list of marketing duties. So it was kind of like trial by fire. You had to sort of, when I first, I may be dating myself, but when I first started marketing for social media, the Facebook business pages were in beta. So it wasn't just everybody that could have a business Facebook page. So businesses were starting to try to have, Facebook profiles, which were basically friend accounts. And I think we know that doesn't work out really well. You should not have to friend request a business to be able to get the information on their page.
I've seen some people still doing that. I've seen that.
Yes, and yeah, that is definitely something that I know Facebook tries to get, eliminate those and guide people toward the pages, but I know that they can't catch them all. But yeah, I think we've all seen those. And if you work in this business and you see the marketing side of it, you kind of chuckle and just what can you do? But yeah, That's definitely sort of I think a relic left over from those early days. But these days, I really think that having that page is crucial, because a lot of people who are searching on the internet, are going to use your Facebook page as a website. They may never go to your website. They may only get what they need to see from your Facebook page. So that said, having those followers isn't enough, and posting sporadically, constant self-promotion, that's not enough. Like I said, social media users, they're not stupid. They're becoming very, very aware of when something is not authentic. And so, on the other flip side of that, the people who are following your page are not going to most likely grow your lead gen or your pipeline, because they're probably already customers. They might be your mom. It just depends. But either way, they're not possibly all potential clients. And so without efforts to expand your audience through the use of, boosting your ads or doing paid social ads, the content you're working really hard to create isn't going to be shared to a wide enough audience to really bring in any sort of trackable or measurable traction and conversions on your business.
So let's talk a little bit about the paid stuff, because honestly, that's one of the things that I love. Let me just explain myself as a social media user. Personally, I forced myself to use Facebook because my aunts, uncles, family, and friends like to see things I'm doing, places I'm going, weekend skiing with my kids. And so I forced myself to kind of go in, participate, and share pictures. But from a business perspective, I live in the back end of Facebook and LinkedIn, and I am just floored by all of the targeting capabilities that we have. Tell us a little bit about just some of the targeting capabilities, around Facebook in particular, because I think that Facebook has the largest audience, for one, and it has a lot of great targeting capabilities. And I know you do a lot with all the nuances of that.
Yes, Facebook is, has come a really long way, and that's really true of all these social media platforms, LinkedIn included, as far as the targeting goes. But what's really unique about Facebook is that you get people in their personal world, and then LinkedIn really focuses on their professional world. So as far as targeting, there's a couple of differences that way. So that's always something to consider. So when you are talking about Facebook, you've got your promoted content, and those are kind of the boosted posts that you see. If you manage a page, you might see where it says, boost this post for $5 and that sort of thing. But I think one of the really fascinating things about Facebook is that you do have those two options. And when you're doing a paid ad, the difference here is that you can customize it better. It might be intimidating at first, but you can go through that back end and you can customize so far down, and it's going to tell you your estimated target audience reach. So, it can tell you that you could potentially be reaching, 800,000 people. And of course, the more that you whittle down those specifics, the smaller audience you're going to get, but you're also going to get a more targeted overall audience that you could potentially get that message to. Now, a boosted post is a little bit different, because you take an existing post that you've already created, it's already out there, it's been on your page, and you can just, with the click of a few buttons, that post is being promoted. It's obviously a lot quicker of a way to do it. If you have clients that you work for that possibly would need to approve that, you've got that content already approved. You're just pushing that out to a wider audience, potentially people who are not already following your page. It's not really customizable. So that's something that you kind of already have done and can just sort of, I would say, sort of like stick it in the microwave and it's ready to be done. So whereas the paid ad's more of putting a recipe together. So, but they both have their benefits. But I just think that, again, it's that people know when they fill out their profile to start a social media account, they know what information they're giving. And for a good example for me is that I see ads in my newsfeed that I genuinely buy those products. And maybe it's because they know that I like cats and they put everything that has cats on it in my newsfeed and I buy it. But you know what? They know that. And they know that because of my activity. And that's where you can, as a marketer, flip that. And because of the data that you're able to collect, you can do the same for your potential customers.
So just share a couple examples. So just assume, so we're not sharing anything in particular, but just assume, so we're based in Saratoga and we want to reach, especially thinking of our wealth management clients and those individuals who might be listening. How do we target investors, affluent investors? Like what are some of the profiling and targeting capabilities that Facebook has?
There's just so many, but off the top, you could go in and obviously you could pick your geographic region. You could go whittle it down to as detailed as your zip code. You could go through it. And then what you could do is you can go through and pick out the specific interest of that target audience. So it doesn't have to be, a lot of people take it so literally and think, oh, they have to be interested in finance. Well, that might not take you down that road. What they may be interested in is recreation. They may be interested in culture and theater. And those are some kind of topics. And those are constantly changing. So that's something to keep in mind, that Facebook does have a way of changing things up quite a bit. But, you can find the things that an affluent person within your geographic area would most likely be interested in. And that right there can get you a really good core sample of who might want to see and benefit from your message.
Yeah, there was a big change last year when they had, what was it? Investable assets, which was really self-reported data. And then after the data breach in the fall, that was removed, if I'm not mistaken, right? And now we don't have that. But as you say, we can layer on a host of other criteria around lifestyle that would give us the probability that we're hitting people who have the required assets and have the lifestyle and live in the right geography. I mean, you can get into zip codes. Sometimes you can target people based on zip codes because we know, based on house the cost of houses that we know that the type of people that are living in that particular zip code per se.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we didn't talk a lot about LinkedIn. I'm just going to I'm going to share a few examples more from our business. So Amber talked a little bit about LinkedIn and how LinkedIn can, be very valuable for targeting businesses. And we've been doing some targeting for clients, but I can share specifically what we do for our own lead generation. And we're doing a lot of it via LinkedIn paid ads. And it's really been really good because we are able to target, wealth managers and registered investment advisors and, based on how much we're spending, but pretty much within an allocated spend, I can pretty much guarantee that I will generate a good solid prospect call within a couple weeks of them clicking and downloading something. And we've been very effective at that. We've started doing that for clients, targeting people more in that business environment. But LinkedIn has its own set of criteria, but we can say from our own experience and working with clients that it is a great way to reach folks who are kind of got more of their business professional hat on than say their personal lifestyle hat on. But, I want to be conscious of our time here. I want to just kind of close this conversation and would ask, if there was one thing that everybody listening can do or should do kind of regarding their social media marketing, what would you recommend?
That's a really good question. And I think that I would just say, don't be afraid to try it. Gone are the days where, your advertising options were limited to the traditional forms like direct mail and print. And, these days, if you're doing something and it's not working on digital, you can change it up almost immediately. So I would say, get familiar. If you're not familiar, utilize resources that are available to you, as far as agencies that can help you out. And, maybe if that's not something you want to take on yourself, it shouldn't be something you're afraid to do, because let's face it, all of your competitors are.
Right. And for those of you listening who are concerned about the compliance side of it, we've done a lot of work with that. Obviously, the internet and digital in general, opens a whole can of worms from, the testimonial ruling and advertising and all these other criteria from a compliance perspective. But there are strategies and there are ways to manage them that are compliant friendly and work. And we've got a lot of experience with that. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Both Amber and I would love to talk to you about that. But as Amber says, don't be afraid to try it. And, try it within a measured way that you're doing it responsibly. But social media is a great way to bring your brand, your firm, your voice, your personality to your audience and to your potential prospects. So don't be afraid to try it, and reach out to us if there's anything we can do to help as you're looking to get your social media marketing off the ground. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next podcast.
Thanks. Bye-bye.